The City of Ekurhuleni has received a clean audit for the 2020-2021 financial year from the Auditor-General. The audit opinion states, amongst other things, that irregular expenditure has decreased by over 90% for this said financial year. For more on this, I'm joined now by Finance MMC Graham Gesbach, and we'll be joined also by the former mayor of Ekurhuleni, Masina. Councillor Graham, good evening, and thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight here on In Focus. Immediately when the Auditor-General released this audit finding, the former mayor tweeted that Ekurhuleni ANC caucus welcomes the attainment of the clean audit outcome for the financial year 2020-2021, the second clean audit that is accounted for under the ANC-led coalition administration. Clearly taking the accolades for this clean audit, saying it happened under the ANC leadership. Does the DA welcome this?
Well, we welcome a clean audit for the city, obviously. And we acknowledge, yes, the ANC coalition was running the city at that time. And a lot of it has got to do with the staffing in place, the city manager, the chief financial officer and their staff. And yes, we acknowledge that it was during their time as the governing party.
Yeah. Are there any potential liabilities inherited by the new administration?
Well, there are always contingent liabilities, and those are disclosed in the financials in full.
And your feeling, do those in any way prevent you from carrying out your business as the new administration?
Well, not necessarily. It depends on the outcomes. They're mainly court cases, and you know, you don't really know the outcomes until a judgment is brought about. So we would await the actual judgments before knowing exactly where we stand. But it is a risk. Obviously, contingent liabilities are always a risk because any one of them could turn into an actual liability.
Now, there are some who are saying the current challenges, for example, in Kempton Park, where they've gone for days without electricity, the current water challenges. In fact, we're getting inboxes. I got an inbox just the other day, folks in Thokoza saying there's a drain there that has been running, or sewage that has been running for a while, and they're reporting it. Nothing is being done about this. People are saying they are blaming all these things on the fact that there was and there still is a lack of maintenance of infrastructure that is going on in Ekurhuleni. How do you respond to that?
Well, first of all, we acknowledge that there is a lack of maintenance that has taken place over a number of years. It's not just current. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're not spending the maintenance expenditure as per the guidelines from National Treasury. And the other thing is that we're sitting with aging infrastructure right across the city that needs refurbishment. And the problem is that our cash collections have been a challenge for a number of years. And in the current financial year, for instance, we're sitting at 83% against 90%, which is, that shortfall is a substantial amount of money. And if you look at the last two completed financial years, our debt impairment increased by, I just want to check the figure, 7.8 billion rand almost, which is a substantial amount of money. And the other area is, if you have a look at our unaccounted for non-technical losses of electricity and water for the last financial year, both were over R1 billion. Now, if we could have saved some of that, we would have the money to invest more in maintenance in the city. So that is a challenge that any party would have in these circumstances, or any coalition, as we're a coalition government. So yes, there are substantial challenges that need to be overcome, and if we look at our current financial situation, that's impacted by the negative rating from Moody's, and that negative rating obviously is a mix of the city's situation, but also the country's situation. So we have to bear that in mind, and that makes our borrowings more expensive. And because borrowings are more expensive, we're going to have to cut back on capital expenditure, which again means that we need to do more maintenance in order to be able to avert major issues in the future. So yes, there are severe challenges.
Finance MMC there in Ekurhuleni, that is Councillor Graham Gershbach. We're joined also now by the former mayor of Ekurhuleni. Councillor Masina, good evening, and thank you very much for your time and joining us. Wasted no time to celebrate this clean audit. You know what they say, a clean audit does not necessarily equate to the audit of your core mandate, which is to deliver services to the people of Ekurhuleni, and that would be the real audit by the people on the ground. How do you respond to that, that you were too obsessed with this clean audit, but it doesn't not necessarily translate to the work on the ground? I've already mentioned Kempton Park, I've already mentioned Togoza and sewage things. People are saying this new administration inherited from your administration.
Well, look, the problem does not start now. You know, the 300 years of colonialism and apartheid can never be compared to 27 years of democracy as a starting point. Yes, we all agree that the infrastructure backlog and what should have happened to ensure that we can service all our people, we missed the point over the past 300 years. So 27 years is literally a drop in the ocean. But what I can tell you that almost 96% of our citizens have got electricity now, coming way below 40% before democracy. They've got water, they've got all other infrastructure and amenities, which in a way was designed to service the few in the main. So what we should not do as a matter of principle is to compare good governance and accountability to what needs to happen, because there are a lot of constraints, including things like, ability to have resources to do these things. Because if the infrastructure was built or designed to cater for a selected few, we have opened it up so that our people can get benefit from that. I can give you one practical example. For instance, from apartheid and colonialism, we inherited about 29 reservoirs. Only in the last 5 years, we were able to build the same number of reservoirs. And I hope the new administration will complete all of them, because we are now dislodged from government. Because that will then ensure the security of supply of water. Secondly, on energy infrastructure, which the DA campaigned with as their ticket now, they have over 50 outages in just 3 months, in 2 months in office. Because the infrastructure, we needed to ensure that we can, reorientate the infrastructure to cater for the majority of our people, and that came at a price, and this is not correct. Maintaining the infrastructure that is there in the city. We have been doing maintenance, we have been doing new installations to ensure that we are able to cater for majority of our people who for the longest of time have never received services from our government. And I must say that the ANC-led coalition must be congratulated for the second back-to-back clean audit. It was not just the first, it's the second. And you know what is unique, which is what you will not find with the DA. We had to go and find a new city manager, the new CFO. We have not less than 13 chartered accountants that are hired by ourselves. They are using our templates, even if they were to stay in government until June next year to get a clean audit. It will be nothing new, because they didn't do anything new, even as we inherited government from the same party. But we didn't have a new, we had a new city manager, we had a new CFO. I can see that they are trying to elevate them above accountability at the level of the executive authority. And And we will do the same just to show them what it means politically, the things that they've been raising.
Yeah. How do you account for the debt impairment, 7 billion rands, and also how do you account for the electrical losses amounting to 1 billion rands?
Look, the local government sphere is a very interesting space, a very complex government. And if you don't cater for those expenses in your books, then you don't know what you are doing, because otherwise, that's why I was saying in the last council, I was arguing with the executive mayor after a speech to say to her, look, the reason why there was a 3-hour handover session to you, I was handing you the entire government, assets, liability, and where we are in terms of governance, so that you don't make a mistake. One of the most foolish mistakes that this new administration is making, they don't know that in terms of compliance, you must have all your senior managers appointed on time. So there are 3 HODs that would have been appointed, but because of time, we had to wait for the new administration. And there are 3 adverts that would have gone out. I can tell you now that if they think they can get clean audit by June 2023, it will not happen because of those things. Because firstly, there's going to be wasteful expenditure. Secondly, there's not going to be about 6 or 8 or 10 managers who must manage these departments, which is a requirement. So there is no way that our administration would not have catered for debt impairment and all other costs that are related, because we've got to look into the bigger picture of what are the issues in the institutions.
Finance MMC, final word from you. How do you account for that question of having not placed senior managers in place on time?
First of all, the appointment of managers is being reviewed. It's being managed by our MMC for corporate and shared services. And at the end of the day, the managers will be appointed, and they will be appointed in a way that ensures that we appoint capable and efficient managers. So it will happen, and it will happen fairly soon. It just takes a little bit of time. And we didn't necessarily say that the process was 100%. So we just want to make sure that everything is correct and that the right appointments are made, and it will be dealt with.
You're confident you'll be able to maintain the level of administration outcomes that have been put out by the ANC in the past 2 years?
Well, I believe we can, because the staff in place are in actual fact largely the same people who will deliver on the job that they're required to do, because they have that capability. We do take into account that last year the accounts were presented without the use of consultants, which is an excellent situation. But if you just take the current financial year, the first 2 months of the current financial year, 1 billion rand outflow in cash resources, bringing us down to 13 days cash on hand, is a negative. And that was before the new coalition took over. So that has to be taken into account. And I think that the whole claim that they inherited the city from us, well, they didn't, because we are a different party to the party they took over from. So that needs to be taken into account. And the party that I came from was never responsible for apartheid. So that is an incorrect perception.
No, that's a
Thank you.
Joke.
Not a joke, it's a fact.
Councillor Masina?
Look, the reality is that the point we're raising, that apartheid and colonialism, which the DA represents, in whatever manifestation, they can say it was a nationalist party, which they later became the GP and the GA. So it's the same WhatsApp group. So the point is, the people who did not build infrastructure to cater for majority of our people, who now claims to be at the helm of government, are the very same people who created a mockery out of our own plight as black people. So what the ANC has done since 1994 and 2000, when we started local government, was to ensure that majority of our people can have these services without interruption, and that has disrupted the status quo. Now the blame is being put on the African National Congress, and I want to say that we are proud of what we've been able to do over the past 5 years. And I'm certain that this cocktail government will not last, because it represents nothing but just a bunch of individuals who are obsessed with themselves, not about what they must do for people.
Completely out of time. That's why we'll leave it for tonight.
You know, we used to have about 4 billion that cautioned the poor.
Unfortunately, I am out of time, Messina. I'm going to have to leave it there. A quick 10 seconds there, Graham, if you can.
I think the point that needs to be remembered, that the National Party eventually left the DP and actually, well, the DA, as it was then, and went back to the ANC.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to have to leave it there. You will have to iron this one out in council and have the debate in council on whether it is the National Party or the DP or the DA. But for tonight, that's where we're going to have to leave it. I appreciate your time. Former Ekurhuleni Mayor Mzwandile Masila and Finance MMC for the City of Ekurhuleni, Graham Gersbach.